At the edge of a crowded auditorium in Los Angeles, where bright stage lights shimmered like stars and thousands of people sat buzzing with anticipation, a tiny figure stood silently backstage. Her silver hair was neatly tied in a low bun, her hands trembled slightly, and her violin case looked older than some of the contestants. Her name was Rosa Villanueva, a 92-year-old Filipino grandmother who had shocked the producers simply by showing up. Most people that age were watching shows like this from their living rooms, not walking onto the stage to perform. But Rosa had not come for fame, applause, or the promise of a viral moment. She had come with a reason that she had kept hidden deep in her heart, a reason that carried both weight and hope. Tonight was her only chance. As her name was called, the audience murmured, confused and curious. What was a grandmother in her 90s doing on a national talent stage known for high-energy dancers and powerhouse singers? Even the judges exchanged doubtful looks. In the front row, a teenager whispered to his mom, "She's too old. Why would she even try something like this?" Rosa heard none of it. She stepped into the center of the spotlight, her frail body wrapped in an elegant, cream-colored barong dress, simple, traditional, and unmistakably Filipino. She held her violin close, as if it were a part of her. When one of the judges gently asked why she had come, her smile was warm and steady. "I came," she said softly, "because music saved my life once. And maybe tonight, it will save someone else's." Her voice was shaky but sincere, and the room fell quiet, the kind of quiet that comes when people feel something they can't explain. Before anyone could ask more, she raised her violin, closed her eyes, and began to play. The first note was delicate, almost fragile, like a memory whispered from far away. But then the next came, stronger, filled with warmth and longing. Within seconds, the entire auditorium was stunned. Her bow glided across the strings with a grace that did not belong to a woman of her age. The melody she played was unfamiliar, yet it carried echoes of joy, sorrow, courage, and love. It felt like a story, one told without words, one that reached deep into the hearts of people who had arrived expecting entertainment and found something far more profound. Many would later describe it as magic. Others would say it felt like nostalgia for a life they had never lived. But in that moment, one thing was certain: Rosa had not come just to perform. She had come to transform the room. As she played, something unexpected happened. The massive screen behind her lit up, not with graphics, but with soft, warm footage of the Philippines. Children running through fields. Fishermen hauling their nets at sunrise. Older couples dancing barefoot in village squares. And then, finally, a photo that made Rosa's voice tremble as she continued to play, a young man smiling as he held a violin beside her. Her grandson, Gabriel. Most of the audience had no idea who he was. But Rosa remembered every detail of the night she lost him. Gabriel had been her heart, her reason to wake each morning. A brilliant violinist, he dreamed of earning a music scholarship in the U.S. But just weeks before his audition, he collapsed during rehearsal. Doctors found a rare condition, too advanced to treat. He died at just 19, leaving Rosa shattered. For months she could not touch her violin. The silence in her home felt like grief itself had taken up residence. But one evening, she found a letter tucked inside Gabriel's case. "Lola," it read, "if I don't get to play for the world, promise me that you will. Music belongs to everyone, and your heart is the most beautiful instrument I know." She kept that promise close but never had the courage to fulfill it, until tonight. As the music swelled, tears filled the eyes of people who had never met Rosa, never heard her story, and yet felt intimately connected to her pain and her strength. Even the teenager who doubted her earlier was now staring wide-eyed, wiping his face with his sleeve. And then came the moment no one expected. Halfway through the piece, Rosa's bow slipped. Her hand trembled violently. A gasp spread across the room. The judges leaned forward, worried she was about to collapse. But Rosa did something that caught everyone off guard. she began speaking through tears while still holding her violin. "If your heart is hurting," she said, her voice cracking, "play anyway. If life feels heavy, love anyway. If you feel alone, please, stay. The world still needs your song." It was as if time froze. No one clapped. No one whispered. People simply absorbed her words, words that felt as if they had been meant for each one of them individually. Then, with renewed strength, Rosa lifted her bow again and finished the final notes, stronger, braver, and more radiant than the first. When the last note rang out, it didn't fade into silence. It lingered, suspended in the air, as if honoring her grandson, her promise, and her courage. The audience rose instantly to their feet. The applause was not ordinary, it was thunderous, emotional, almost desperate. People weren't just cheering for her performance, they were cheering for her strength, her resilience, her message. The judges, all of them, were visibly emotional. One of them stood with tears streaming, unable to speak. Another pressed her hand over her heart and whispered, "That was healing." But amidst the roaring applause, Rosa simply bowed gently, clutching her violin. Her eyes glistened, not with pride, but with relief, because she had finally kept her grandson's promise. Backstage, after the show, something remarkable happened. A young man in his 20s approached her with red, swollen eyes. He had been sitting in the back row, planning to leave the show early and end his life that night. He felt invisible, broken, and utterly alone. "Ma'am," he whispered, voice shaking, "your words, they stopped me. I didn't think anybody cared. I didn't think there was anything left for me. But when you said the world needs my song, I believed you." Rosa took his trembling hands and smiled the same gentle smile she once gave Gabriel. "You matter," she told him. "And you are loved more than you know." He cried as she hugged him, a stranger who had come to a show but ended up saving a life. That moment spread quietly among the crew and staff. It wasn't filmed. It wasn't posted online. It wasn't part of the episode. It was something human, raw, and real, something that lived only in the hearts of the people who witnessed it. When Rosa finally stepped outside into the cool night air, she looked up at the sky and whispered, "I kept my promise, Gabriel." And though she could not hear it, the world seemed to answer back. In the days that followed, people across America shared her performance. Not because she was old, or because she surprised the judges, but because she reminded them of something they often forgot, that kindness still mattered, that music still healed, and that even in a world full of noise and division, one act of courage could bring strangers together. Rosa's story traveled across social media, across living rooms, across hearts. Mothers shared it with their children. Veterans said the music helped them sleep after years of nightmares. Nurses played clips for patients who had stopped speaking. And the young man whose life she unknowingly saved sent her a letter every week, updating her on his healing and thanking her for the night that changed everything. Rosa never asked for any of it. She simply continued playing her violin on her porch every morning, letting the warm California sun fall softly across her wrinkled hands. Neighbors would pause to listen, not because she was famous, but because her music carried something the world desperately needed: hope. And though Rosa lived quietly, her impact echoed loudly, reminding everyone who heard her story that you're never too old to try, never too broken to heal, and never too small to change a life. Her performance left America speechless, but her humanity gave it something far more valuable: the belief that even in the darkest moments, light can be found in the most unexpected places, sometimes held gently in the hands of a 92-year-old grandmother with a violin.